What if I told you the US dollar, the currency that has dominated the world for nearly a century, might be losing its grip on global power? What if I told you that right now, as you watch this video, countries around the world are quietly making moves that could change the future of money forever? This isn't just some economic theory. This is happening today, and it could affect everything in your life, from the price of your groceries to the value of your savings, from your job opportunities to the stability of your retirement. So buckle up, because in this video, we are going deep into one of the most important financial shifts of our time, the decline of the US dollar's dominance, and the rise of alternative currencies like the Chinese yuan. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll see why this issue isn't just about governments and central banks, it's about you, your money, and your future. To understand what's happening today, we need to rewind a bit. The story of the US dollar is one of the most remarkable financial success stories in history. After World War II, the world was in chaos. Economies were broken, currencies were unstable, and countries were desperate for a standard, a safe anchor. At the famous Bretton Woods Conference in 1944, world leaders came together and decided to tie their currencies to the US dollar, which in turn was backed by gold. This agreement effectively crowned the dollar as the king of global finance. America's massive economy, combined with its military power and gold reserves, made the dollar the most trusted currency on Earth. For decades, this system worked. Even after President Richard Nixon ended the gold standard in 1971, the dollar kept its dominance. Oil was priced in dollars, international trade was done in dollars, and central banks around the world held dollars as their reserves. Simply put, the dollar became the oxygen of global finance. You couldn't do business without it. But here's the thing, every empire has its peak, and every currency faces challenges. The British pound once ruled the world before being dethroned by the dollar. And now, cracks are starting to appear in the dollar's throne. Today, we're seeing a new reality. Countries, especially developing nations, are starting to move away from the US dollar. They're issuing debt in other currencies. They're trading in yuan, euros, or even local currencies. And they're doing it for one big reason: the cost of using the dollar has become too high. Let's talk about why. Right now, US interest rates are hovering around 4.25% to 4.5%. That means borrowing in dollars is expensive. Imagine you're a country like Kenya or Sri Lanka. You need money to build infrastructure, pay debts, or invest in development. If you borrow in dollars, you're hit with high interest payments and exchange rate risks. But if you borrow in Chinese yuan or Swiss francs, your costs are much lower. Naturally, you'd want to escape the dollar trap. And that's exactly what many countries are doing. For example, Kenya recently issued debt in local currency instead of dollars. Sri Lanka, after its debt crisis, is considering alternatives to dollar loans. Panama is exploring non-dollar financing. These moves may seem small individually, but together they signal a growing trend. The world is slowly diversifying away from the dollar. And it's not just about borrowing. Trade is changing too. China, the world's second largest economy, has been aggressively pushing the yuan as a global currency. Through its Belt and Road Initiative, China is financing infrastructure projects in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, and often, those deals are denominated in yuan, not dollars. In recent years, China and Russia have dramatically increased their use of the yuan in trade, especially for energy. Even countries in the Middle East, traditionally loyal to the dollar because of oil, are starting to consider selling oil in yuan. Saudi Arabia, for example, has publicly discussed accepting yuan for oil sales to China. If that shift happens on a large scale, it could be historic. Now you might be asking, why does this matter to me? I don't live in Kenya, Sri Lanka, or Saudi Arabia. Why should I care if some countries start using yuan or francs instead of dollars? Well, here's the reality. If the dollar loses its unique role in the global economy, it will hit your wallet in ways you may not expect. Think about it today. The US can borrow money cheaply because everyone wants dollars. That allows the government to run massive deficits and still keep interest rates manageable. But if demand for dollars weakens, borrowing costs will rise. That could mean higher taxes, more inflation, or cuts to public programs. Your mortgage, your credit card rates, and your student loans could all get more expensive. And if the dollar weakens significantly, imported goods from electronics to clothing to fuel could cost a lot more. In other words, your cost of living could go up sharply, but the impact isn't all negative. For some, a weaker dollar could mean opportunities. US exports would become cheaper on the global market, potentially boosting American manufacturing and jobs. Investors who diversify into gold, foreign currencies, or even cryptocurrencies could see their wealth grow. But here's the catch: this transition will not be smooth. Currency power struggles often bring instability, and instability brings risk. Now, let's talk about the yuan, because it's often seen as the dollar's main challenger. China has been working for years to internationalize its currency. The yuan is already part of the International Monetary Fund's basket of reserve currencies, alongside the dollar, euro, yen, and pound. China has set up currency swap agreements with dozens of countries, allowing them to trade directly in yuan without using dollars. And with its massive trade network, China is in a strong position to push the yuan forward. However, the yuan faces its own challenges. China's financial system is heavily controlled by the government, which makes investors wary. Capital controls limit the free flow of money in and out of China. And global trust in the yuan is not nearly as strong as in the dollar. So while the yuan is rising, it's not ready to fully replace the dollar yet. Other currencies are also stepping into the spotlight. The euro remains strong, especially within Europe and parts of Africa. The Swiss franc is seen as a stable, low-cost borrowing option. Even cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and stablecoins are starting to play a role in international finance, particularly in countries facing inflation or currency crises. What we're witnessing is not a sudden overthrow of the dollar, but a gradual shift toward a more multipolar currency world, a world where multiple currencies share power instead of one dominating all. So, what does this mean for you right now? First, it means you should pay attention to how global events affect your personal finances. If the dollar weakens, expect higher prices on imported goods. If interest rates rise, expect more expensive loans and mortgages. If inflation becomes persistent, your savings could lose value faster than you think. But here's the good news: you can prepare. Diversification is key. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Consider investments in assets that hold value during dollar weakness, like gold, real estate, or even diversified international funds. Build financial habits that protect you from volatility, save consistently, manage debt wisely, and stay informed. Knowledge is your best defense. Second, understand that this shift isn't happening overnight. The dollar is still the world's reserve currency, and it still makes up around 60% of global reserves. Most international trade is still conducted in dollars. The US economy remains massive and powerful, and trust in the dollar is deeply ingrained. So don't panic, but do recognize that we are entering a new chapter. Just as the British pound once gave way to the dollar may now be sharing its throne with other currencies. The rise of the yuan is tied to China's rise as a global superpower. The dollar's dominance is tied to America's global influence. Currency power reflects political power, and as the balance shifts, the world order shifts with it. That means more competition, more uncertainty, and more opportunities for those who are prepared. Let's make this real with an example. Imagine you're a small business owner in the US who imports goods from China. If trade shifts from dollars to yuan, you may have to deal with exchange rates you've never worried about before. Your costs could fluctuate unpredictably. Or imagine you're a worker whose company exports goods abroad. If the dollar weakens, your company's products might suddenly become more competitive, creating new opportunities for growth and jobs. These are not abstract issues, they touch real lives. Another example, if you're saving for retirement, a weaker dollar could eat away at your purchasing power. That dream vacation or comfortable lifestyle you imagine may cost far more than you expect. But if you diversify your portfolio, say with some gold, some foreign stocks, or other assets, you could protect yourself from that risk. Third, remember that this is not just about economics, it's also about geopolitics. The bottom line is this: the world is changing. The US dollar will likely remain powerful for years to come, but its days as the unquestioned king of global finance are numbered. The rise of alternative currencies like the yuan signals the beginning of a new era, one where financial power is shared, competition is fierce, and the old rules no longer apply. For you, that means staying awake, staying aware, and staying prepared. So let me leave you with this thought. In the past, people who understood global shifts in money and power were the ones who thrived while others struggled. Right now, you have the chance to be on the right side of history. Don't ignore these signals. Don't assume the dollar will always be king. Instead, educate yourself, prepare your finances, and be ready for a world where money works differently. Because at the end of the day, the question isn't whether the dollar is losing power, it's how fast and what you're going to do about it. And if you found this video helpful, make sure you hit that like button so more people can understand what's really happening with the global economy. Subscribe to the channel if you want to stay updated on the biggest financial changes shaping our future, because I'll be breaking them down for you every week. And don't forget to share this video with a friend who needs to hear this, because knowledge about money is power, and in times like these, we all need more power.